Okay, so I'm going to work on Module 4, Lesson 1's homework with you guys. And the main point is that you learn how to read the vocabulary and read the directions and be able to follow them so you show that you understand the vocabulary. So here it says, A, draw 2 points. And points are basically just points like on a geometric plane, for lack of a better word. And it says draw the points W and X. So I'm going to draw the points W and X right over here. Okay, and then it says use a straight edge to draw ray WX, but I don't have a straight edge, so I'm just going to try my best. But also it has a line with an arrow going in one direction, so that's how I know it's a ray, because a ray goes on forever in one direction. So I'm going to show that when I connect these two. Okay, and then on part C it says draw a new point that is not on ray WX and label it Y. So I'm just going to pick another spot and I'm going to put it there. Okay, and the next part says draw line segment WY. And I know it's a line segment because it just has a line over the top that has no arrows. So that means it's going to start with W and end with Y. Okay, and then part E says draw a point not on ray WX or line segment WY and call it Z. So I'm just going to pick another spot, label that Z. And then it says construct line YZ, and you can tell it's a line because it has arrows going both ways, which means it goes on forever in both directions. So I'm going to show that in my picture. And the last part says use the points you've already labeled to name one angle. And when I name an angle, the letter in the middle, I'm going to use all three letters, and the letter in the middle has to be the one that's the vertex. So I'm going to use a different color, and I'm going to pick an angle, WYZ. And so when I name it, it could go ZYW or WYZ, but Y has to be in the middle because it's the vertex. And so that's right here is the notation that you would use. And we're going to move on to the next problem in just a second. Okay, problem number 2 is the same thing. It's just showing that you understand the notation for each vocabulary word. So we're going to start off with drawing points W and X. And then it says use a straight edge to draw line segment WX. I'm just going to do my best here, and I'm going to connect W and X, and I'm going to stop at each point because it's a line segment. And then it says draw a new point that is not on WX, label it Y. So I'm just going to write that right here. And then it says draw ray WY. And so that's showing it goes on forever in one direction. So I'm going to connect W to Y, and then I'm going to extend my arrow past Y. Part E says draw a new point that is not on ray WY or on the line containing WX. So I'm going to label that Z. So I'm just going to pick another spot that's not on either one of these line segments or rays. So I'm going to do it up here. And then it says construct line WZ, which means that it goes on forever in both directions. So you really got to pay attention to the notation on the top. So I'm going to do it in both directions. Then it says identify angle ZWX by drawing an arc to indicate the position of the angle. And here what's important is that middle letter, which is W. And that shows me that that's the vertex, and an arc is basically just a part of a circle that's going to show where the angle is. So I'm going to use this blue color to start at Z, go to W, and then X. Oops. So Z, W, and then W to X, and then I'm going to have an arc there to show that that's my angle. Then it says identify another angle by referencing points that you have already drawn. So I'm going to pick another color here, and I'm going to do the same thing where the middle letter has to be the vertex. So let's do X, W, Y. And I could say YWX or XWY just as long as W is in the middle, because that is the vertex or where both of the rays or line segments meet to make the angle. Alright, on the third page, or third problem, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use real world objects to make rays, lines, and line segments. So we're going to start off with the clock, and it says use those points to label and name representations of each of the following in the table below: ray, line segment, and angle. And then it says extend segments to show lines and rays. So it's going to look a little bit funny because we're going to go past these objects, but we want to show that we understand what each of these words mean. So we're going to start off with the clock. And I'm going to draw some points on the clock. I'm just going to use letters that come to mind. It doesn't really matter what you name them. So I have A, B, C, D, and I'll put one in the middle in the middle of the clock and name it E. Now we're going to draw a ray. So I'm going to choose A and B, and I'm going to go past B to make a ray, and then I'm going to write it in my table as ray AB. So I'll write AB, and then I'll put a small ray symbol over it, which is a line segment with an arrow going one way. Next, I want to do a line, which means it's going to go in forever in both directions. I'm going to show two arrows, so I'm connecting C and B and putting two arrows in both directions, showing that it goes forever both ways. So that's a line CB. And the last one, or not the last one, second to last is a line segment. So I will connect D to E, but I'm not going to have any arrows or go past those points because the line segment begins and ends with a point. So I'm going to write DE and put a small line segment over the top. And the last thing we have to do is create an angle. So I'm going to do angle CBA or ABC. And B has to be in the middle because it's its vertex. So I'm going to highlight this in a different color so you can see in just a second. So A, B, C. And B is that vertex. And we're going to write it down here as angle ABC. Next, we're going to start with the die. So I'm going to start labeling different points. So there's F, G, H, I, and we'll just leave it at that. We don't have to make any more. So I'm going to start off with creating a ray. We'll do ray FG, same thing as last time. So one arrow. We'll do line HF, so two arrows going in each direction. And then we'll do line segment IF, which means it ends at I, or starts at I and ends at F. And this last part, we're going to identify an angle again, and I'm going to do it in different colors so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to do it in red. I'm going to go from I to F to H. So the way we would name that angle is IFH or HFI, as long as F is in the middle, because that's the vertex. Alright, last one. We're going to be looking at the number line. I'm choosing a new color. And let's start off with our ray. Now, this is already a line because it goes in both directions forever, but we're just going to put some points on it. Doesn't really matter, so we're going to name them X, Y, Z, and R. And so let's start off, we're going to create a ray. I'll do ray ZR because it starts with Z, it goes through R, and it goes on forever past R. Then we'll do a line. Let's do line at XY, and it goes on forever in both directions. You could technically call it line YX or XY. And then we're going to have a line segment. We'll do from Y to Z because it starts at Y and ends at Z. And then this one's a little hard to make an angle with because the whole thing is just a straight line. But we'll learn more about angles, and we'll talk about 180-degree angles. So the angle I'm going to use, I'm going to go from Y to Z to R. And Z is technically our vertex, but it's making a 180-degree angle, which is basically a line. So I'll label it angle YZR, or it could have been RZY. Okay, last part, the extension. It says draw a familiar figure, just like we did earlier, like a real life thing, and label it with points, and then identify rays, line segments, and angles. So just like before. So I guess I'm going to try drawing a chair. Don't make fun of my drawing. Once I can get the pen to work. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a simple chair. It doesn't really matter what you draw as long as it has lines and points and things you can make angles out of. So this is my beautiful chair. I'm going to put some points on it. So point A, B, C, get that a little closer, point D, and that should be enough for what we have to do. Oh, and there's F. Okay. So let's start off. We're going to go ahead and do, those are our points. We're going to pick two to make a ray out of. So I'm going to do ray AC, going in one direction. We're going to do line, which one do I want to do? Let's do line FD or DF. It goes on forever in both directions. We'll do DF or FD. And then we will do a line segment. So we'll do segment FA. And the last step is creating an angle. There's a lot of different angles I see, but we're going to do it in another color so it's easier to see. Let's do orange. And we'll do angle. We'll start off here with F. We'll go to A. And we'll end with C. So I could name that FAC or CAF, as long as A in the middle, again, because it's the vertex. So I'm going to write that over here. And we're done with homework. I hope this was helpful.